Welcome back to step 3 of the 2018 Geek-A-Long joins. Here I'm going to pick up and knit these horizontal edges, right? So if this were a Geek-A-Long square, this is the top of my square, this is the middle of my square, this is the bottom of my square. I have it upside down, right? These are the side edges. I've already picked up, done the edging, done the grafting on those. Now I'll pick up, I'm starting along the bottom of this edge. When I began picking up stitches, it follows the exact same thing you did on these horizontal edges, or I'm sorry, on these vertical edges, but I want to make sure and I start on the edge of the knitted edging that's at the outside of my blanket. So if this were my whole blanket, right, this is a joined edge between two squares. This is an outside edge on the outer edge of my blanket. I picked up and I knit two stitches off of these 4 rows that I had knit for the edging, so just one for every other stitch. I picked up and I knit 12. That's the same number as my number of stitches, so on a Geek-A-Long square it would be 45. I picked up and knit 1 stitch for each stitch, just inserting right underneath that bottommost stitch and knitting through. You want to take care to note that at the corners, the first and last stitch of my bottom edge are the same stitch as the first stitch here of my side edge. So here at these corners, right, you're knitting into a stitch you had already worked on the edging. So if you're going through it and you're going, wow, why am I short 2 stitches? It's because these are squares, right? So that bottom stitch is both the side stitch and the bottom stitch at each corner. So I picked up, I worked 12 across for Geek-A-Long square, it's 45. This tutorial is just to give you a quick glance at picking up along these edgings. So I'm going to come to the edging. Here I have 8 rows. I had done 4 on each side. I'm going to pick up, not every stitch, okay? Because then you would have too many stitches and it would pucker. Our stitches are wider than they are tall. But I'm going to pick up into the second stitch, just inserting my needle right here through the stitch, knitting into it, and I'm going to pick up 4 for every 5 stitches, which basically means I'm going to start in that second stitch, pick up the next 2 stitches, it'll be tough to grab the very bottom edge of these stitches, but you want to try to get the very bottom of them. I'm going to pick up, I'm going to do 2 more. Now I've got 3 from that edge. I'll skip the next stitch. So I picked up 3, I'll skip 1, I'll pick up another 3, you had 8 rows, but with your grafting, it's going to feel like 9. So I picked up 3 stitches, skipped 1, picked up 3 stitches, skipped 1, and now I'm going to skip that last stitch. So of those 9 rows that you'll find with your grafting, I skipped the first, the middle, and the last stitch. And then just move right along into picking up and knitting the stitches of the bottom row. The next one, and I'll pick up and I'll work 12 across. Again, these are 12 stitch squares. If it were a Geek-A-Long square, I would work 45 across. Continuing on all the way till I get to the other end. If this were a Geek-A-Long blanket, there'd be another square here on this side, and you just keep going, picking up 6 stitches at each of those joins until you get to the end. When you get to the end, you're going to turn and purl across. Unlike our vertical join, you don't need to decrease any stitches. All right? You're going to work 4 rows. So this is row 1, a knit. You'll work a wrong side, a purl, another knit, another purl, cut your yarn, move on. You'll flip it over. You'll do the same on the other side. Do that for every strip, but you do not need to do the very top of your blanket and the very bottom of your blanket, right? So if this is the top edge of my blanket, I'm not going to pick up these stitches. I'll do that when I do my edging. All right, you're all set. The written instructions for the edging employ all the techniques that you've seen in these 3 steps, but no other techniques, so you'll be all set. Good luck, Geek-A-Longers!